All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out of your busy day today to talk about how to effectively close those important skills gaps that we have in our organization. I am Kirsten DeBrouwer. I'm the Training and Development Manager here at CAPSIM. I have more than 10 years of experience in putting together experiential learning programs for corporations. And this is our group, CAPSIM. This was us at our summer outing last year. I am over here. But we wanted to talk today about skills gaps and closing those skills gaps and how to do it effectively and efficiently. Now, we all know that skills gaps are still there. This latest report from ATD, Bridging the Skills Gap, was a great reinforcement for all of us in the learning department world that we know that there are future skills gaps, and a lot of these skills gaps are now being wrapped around some of what we are calling these soft skills: communication and interpersonal skills, critical thinking and problem solving, and managerial and leadership skills. Now, this report does mention several hard skills as well, but it does mention these three as the largest current and future skills gaps. And we know that these skills gaps have a direct effect on our bottom line. It affects service, it affects customer experience, and it affects the future growth of our organization. So if we don't address these skills gaps now, they are going to continue in our organization, and we're going to continue to have them adversely affect us. One other point that this report made was that within 69% of ATD survey respondents placed the sole or shared duty for resolving these skills gaps on talent development departments. So it looks like they're asking us to step out and help everybody out in closing these skills gaps. And if you're going to close the skills gaps, you need to use certain tools to do it, and you need to make sure that these tools are hitting some basic requirements. They have to require knowing and doing. You not only need to know that a skill exists, but you have to practice that skill. It has to foster accurate self-awareness. You have to know how well you're performing the skills today so that you can make improvements for the future. Now, any training has to be experiential and career related. People are not going to be engaged or involved in the training if it doesn't tie back to what they do at their job and it's not kind of fun and interesting for them to go through or challenging. They will just not enjoy the experience, and you won't get that level of learning that you're looking for. And then the tool should also always provide actionable feedback, specific developmented focus to guide people as they continue to learn these skills and develop and grow these skills throughout their careers. Now, you may be wondering, what right does CAPSIM have to be talking about skills gaps and experiential learning programs? Well, we have more than 30 years of experience with business simulation experiential learning programs with our clients. You can see several logos here of different organizations that we have worked with, and I'm sure you're noticing that they are a broad range of organizations in a broad range of industries in different sizes. Besides using our simulations, our micro simulations, and our assessments in these organizations, our simulations are also used in over 900 universities worldwide. They have been used a lot, so we know that they've been put through the rigmarole. They provide accurate data, they are efficient and consistent, and they don't break, which is amazing, so that you know these tools are going to work well. And speaking of our tools, we have the business simulations, the micro simulations, and the assessments, as I mentioned earlier, and we use these to develop and build our experiential programs. These are just some of the tools that we use. We can also add, and we do add, levels of customization specific for your organization, and we're going to talk about that and share some examples of that in just a minute or two. So this is an example of how you can really leverage the technology-based tools to boost your learning impact, okay? And we thought a great way to kind of figure out different ways to close your skills gap is to look at some success stories and some organizations that have already effectively and efficiently began to close these skill gaps in their places of employment. So the three skills gaps we're going to look at today are leadership, business acumen, and strategic decision making. And we're going to spend the majority of our time together today talking about these skills gaps, talking about how these companies address them, and then at the end we'll talk a little bit more about what it's like to work with CAPSIM and how to get a hold of us if you have any questions. I should have mentioned earlier, this is an interactive webinar, so if you have any questions, you can always type them into the questions thing. If you raise your hand, I will unmute you as well, and you can ask any questions live, or you can type any questions you have into the chat bar, and I will address them as soon as I see them. So the first skills gap we're going to talk about is a program that we run, is leadership, and we run a leadership development program every year for Universal Orlando Resort, their stretch program. Now, their stretch program is a 7-month-long leadership development program, and at CAPSIM, we are a piece of this near the beginning of the program. Part of what they do at Stretch in these 7 months together is they are assigned in teams and assigned a challenge or an issue that Universal Resorts is facing right now. And over the next 6 months in their teams, they solve this issue. And that'll be important because as they're getting ready to work on these teams and solve these issues, we wanted to go in and not just talk about leadership and work on some other skills, but we wanted to talk about team dynamics with them to help them get going in these teams and addressing any issues or team dynamic issues they have right away, so that over the next 6 months as they're working together, they can work fluidly and efficiently together. So here's the objectives that we were looking at with this program. Number one, that leadership development. Then we're also looking at strategic thinking, database decision making, and you already heard me mention that very important piece of team dynamics. Now, some other things that are included in this 7-month-long leadership journey are that they have different executive speakers come in who talk to these participants as well. They read a couple different books, they have some book discussions, and then there is that challenge that they're solving for Universal over the next 6 months as well. And all of this is in addition to doing their regular job. So it's a very busy time. But we are together with Universal for 2 days for a business simulation program. And in this program, they are using our simulation Capstone. Now, Capstone is our big sim. I like to call it our Mac Daddy simulation. When you start in Capstone, you are put into a team, and as teams, you're going through and running this business for the number of years or the number of rounds. And we do 5 rounds or 5 years in this business simulation. And during these 5 years, they have to set a strategy, and then they have to actually execute on that strategy as well. And as they're sitting in these C-suites, they have to take care of 4 major departments: research and development, marketing, production, and finance. Now, it is a manufacturing company, and you probably noticed at the beginning, though, when I put up all those logos, there are several logos that aren't manufacturing organizations. Every company, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's service, insurance, you're always going to have some kind of research and development, some kind of marketing, some kind of production for service organizations that may be more asset allocation than production, but it is some kind of production. You need to make sure you have enough people and the facilities to handle your orders when they come in. And then also finance, which is, again, do you have enough capital to run your company, for the entire year? So they start out, they come in, the participants are running this $100 million company. They start out with 5 diverse markets, and they have to choose a strategy that they're going to drive over the next 5 years to drive their company to success, hopefully steal some market share from other teams in the room, and make their company much more profitable. Now, after every round in the simulation, we do a debrief, and this is where we look at what they put into the simulation and who made some great business decisions and who had a few learning moments. Okay, so the learning moments are very important because, again, when we're doing a simulation, people are practicing in a safe environment. And this is the place to have those learning moments as opposed to back on the job. Okay, now besides those learning moments and tying what happens in the simulation back to what's happening at their own organization and the overall industry, Each debrief also has a learning topic or a learning lesson where we dive into what one of the objectives is for that program. For example, this one I talked about how important it was to get the teams on the same page. So we did some team building exercises. We talked a little bit about team biases and team dynamics and team decision making. And then throughout the course of the 2 days, each day the participants did a teammate evaluation that measured and evaluated their team effectiveness. It took a look at how their team was doing on confidence, cooperation, coordination, cohesion, and conflict. This is one of many assessments that we have here at CAPSIM. And once they're done with the assessments, what was great is that it does have feedback and tailored developmental tactics to help get the team working together more smoothly if they were having any issues in any of those areas. So it's a great thing to use when a team is first formed so you can fix any problems or correct any issues that are going on right from the beginning. Then at the end of the 2-day program, team members get up and they put together a team presentation where they talk about lessons learned in the simulation. They might talk about, some questions they may address at the end would include how would you improve your strategic execution so they know how to improve it moving forward. If you could start again this process or the simulation, what would you do differently? And the most important question, what will you take back to your business unit from the past few days? So how is this going to change how you respond to challenges in your daily job? Now, I mentioned that we took the teammate survey during the program, and one of the things that we looked at live at that program was we looked at how are the teams performing in their teamwork versus how are they performing in the simulation. And no big surprise there. Teams that are a high-performing teams were performing very well in the simulation. So that correlation between a high-performing team and team dynamics was proven right there, and they realized that if they had any issues or any challenges, they could address them, move forward over the next 6 months, again, to work on their challenge projects. Now, this is a look at some of the comments that we got after being together for the 2 days. For someone who doesn't have a business degree, this information was really valuable. On par, if not more challenging than similar exercise faced in my MBA. We know that leadership skills involve a whole range of skills, and how Universal had defined it for us as one of the things they really wanted these people to understand was cross-functionality in business and how business works and finance. So we covered all of that, including, leadership skills. We looked at the leadership skills that trying to drive across Universal, and we talked about those during one of those learning moments or learning topics in the simulation as well. So that's a look at some different things that you can do when you have a skill gap of leadership at your organization. The next skill gap we're going to take a look at is business acumen, and we worked with Eli Lilly, just a tiny company you may have heard of. Now, Eli Lilly knew that they had this business acumen skill gap, and they realized they wanted their managers to better understand finance. People who don't have finance backgrounds. So we had about yearly, we do about 30 managers or so, and we go back every year and run. Again, it's a 2-day business simulation, and their number one objective here is that business acumen. But we also get into that strategic decision making and database decision making as well. In our simulations, we share a ton of data with our participants. We give them all kinds of information about their customers, about the markets, about how it's growing, and they have to analyze all of this information to make and execute their decisions in the simulation. So this simulation they used was a little different. It's foundation. Instead of having those 5 markets, when you're starting out, you have the 2 diverse markets, and you only have 1 product that you're starting out with. You're still looking at making decisions in the same departments, but we added an extra one called human resources. And the human resources department allows you to spend money on your employees, both in recruitment and training, which will make your employees more efficient and drive up how hard they work and increase their productivity. We all know training is important, so this is a great way to show and help employees or participants understand that when we invest in our people, they stay longer, turnover goes down, recruitment costs go down, and retention rates go up, which is great. A really cool piece about this program was that the Eli Lilly senior leaders were involved. We have senior leaders in both strategy and finance that would do learning topics after every round in the simulation. They would get up and have a discussion for some different things that are pertinent to Eli Lilly, what's going on, talking about their operating income, their gross margin versus operational margin, and then things specific to them like their manufacturing scorecard. And while this was going on, the CAPSIM team is in the room. They're analyzing what happened in the simulation, but we're also listening to what the senior leaders are saying so that when we get up and we do the simulation debrief, we can tie back in what we just heard the senior leaders talk about is important to Eli Lilly, tie it back into the simulation and back into overall business and industry trends as well. Okay, so as we talk about Eli Lilly and finances, we realized that as we were building this program, they use slightly different financial terms in their financial statements than we do here in our simulation. So one of the things that I did is I put together this little customized sheet that they can use to take a look at their terms versus our terms to really drive the learning so that participants aren't confused about things. We know when we take accounting classes that different companies refer to things slightly differently sometimes. So we just wanted to clear up any confusion that participants might have with the different definitions and the different terms. Now, I really like this program, and one of the reasons it's so fun to me is when we come in, and they do their opening and they talk about why we're all here. One of the things they do is instead of an introduction is they ask people to introduce themselves, but also give one word that describes their financial literacy. And at the beginning of the program, it's none, I don't know, there's blank stares, you can see they're nervous, they feel confused, they feel intimidated. Some people don't even balance their own checkbook, they admit to us in this program. But by the end of the 2 days together, these same people who couldn't balance a checkbook are in rooms having really deep discussions like, all right, we need to drive up the automation of our plant because that'll drive down our labor costs, which will make everything more efficient, drive up our contribution margin, and drive up our profitability. So these same intimidated people, after 2 days together, were so much more comfortable and conversant in the language of finance that they were having those deep discussions like you really want them to have. And my favorite here after the program is beginning of the journey. We know that as learning and development professionals, it's a lifelong journey of learning that we're on, and this was the first step for them getting comfortable and conversant in their own financial information in their own company. So that is an example of one of the ways that we hit a business acumen skill gap. The third and final skill gap we're going to take a look at today is strategic decision making. And for strategic decision making, we worked with a large multinational pharmaceutical company out of Germany. This is a very large program. It has about 100 participants. We do anything from 30 participants to 900 participants in a program. This one's a lot of fun. They have cameras, they record things, they take pictures. It's really a show when we go there for this program. Now, this program is a little different because it's filled with people that have very technical backgrounds. And so what we're trying to do is help them understand how important R&D and production are in overall strategy and overall running of an organization and how important cross-functional decision making is. Now in this program, the participants are assigned a strategy rather than choosing a strategy, and they're assigned the same strategy as their own organization, and they try to drive that strategy over 5 rounds or the 2 days that we are together with them. Now, the simulation that they use is similar to Foundation. It's called Global DNA. Only you actually have an emerging market of Asia and Europe that you can enter, and both of those have a high-tech and a low-tech market in there as well. So there's a total of 6 markets. So you really have to, in the beginning, choose a strategy, put together your 5 to 10 year plan for your organization, and then drive that strategy on execution. And then every round, go back, look at the results, analyze those results, and then make any adjustments or massage your strategy to go forward or your execution so that you can drive efficiency at your organization. Now, the other thing we do that's a little different with this one is that we have a memo from the board of directors which gives everyone a little bit more detail. Since these sponsors of this program didn't want the participants worried about R&D, we give them decisions for R&D. And for the first 2 years or 2 rounds, we also gave them some marketing decisions. And then for some rounds, we even built a few challenges on top of the sim to make it even more difficult. Now, this challenge replicates something that happens in the real world to large pharma companies that have facilities in other areas. There could be a natural disaster. There could be a political upheaval overnight and a warehouse may shut down. For this simulation, what we did was we processed this round overnight. We went in and we wiped out 20% of their inventory, saying that there was a fire in their warehouse overnight. Well, of course, it became a seller's market that year. And then the next year, they had their R&D budget cut because the company or organization had to rebuild this warehouse. So this is another example of some of those slight levels of customization that we can put on top of our simulations, our micro simulations, and our assessments to better address your learning goals and objectives and specific challenges that you are having at your own organization. Now, this program we've run for several years with them, and we've also moved into several other business units in their organization than the one that we began with. So we've been very successful with this program. And again, this is just a sample of one of the programs that we do that addresses that strategic decision making or problem solving skills gap that exists. So you're probably wondering, I've shared with you a few success stories, and we talked a little bit about the different skills gaps, but you might be wondering, why should I choose CAPSIM? The number one reason, consistency and continuity. You heard me mention at the beginning that our sims are used in over 900 universities worldwide, and that they are also used in hundreds of corporate programs. They are tested. They work. And year after year, we come back to our clients and we deliver high quality experiential programs, and our clients know that, which is why not only do we usually come back every year, but hopefully if we're lucky, they ask us to give these programs to other business units. And when we work with other business units, we start the process all over again, starting with what are their skill gaps or what are their learnings and objectives they want to take away from the program. Now, you've heard me talk a little bit about some slight customization. Now, this really is the best of both worlds because you can buy an off-the-shelf solution or you can buy a completely customized solution. What we do at CAPSIM is a combination of the two. We have these mostly off-the-shelf simulation, micro simulations, and assessments. Then we combine them with custom content that we wrap around them to make it more applicable for your organization, your industry, and your company. And then with this, it allows it really, you don't have that cost of a highly customized, and it's more applicable for your participants than something that is completely off the shelf. Now, we do have an agile design and delivery process. We work very closely with you and your team during the design process, but also during delivery. After every debrief, I'll touch base with the sponsors to make sure that they were happy, that what was talked about was what they wanted, and then any tweaks, we'll go ahead and tweak them. And after every single program, we do a debrief so that we can always make sure we're delivering high quality to our clients. We do have a suite of products for all levels in the organization, everything from individual contributors all the way up to those simulations that have 5 markets like Capstone, up to the executive or C-suite. We have a flexible delivery method. We can deliver virtually. We can deliver in person. I know the examples today I gave you were all in person, but we're doing a program right now for a cloud computing company that is delivered every single week online. We record those webinars. And we also have phone and email support. So if you're a part of that virtual program and you have a question or you need some help, or we're working with you or your participants need some help, you can simply pick up the phone, call us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We will be there to answer your questions and help guide you through the simulation or the experiential learning process. So that's some of the reasons some of the differentiators here at CAPSIM. And now you may be wondering, how do I work with CAPSIM? There's lots of different ways we work with our customers. You can become a business partner. If you have a training and development organization and you're looking to add simulations or assessments or micro sims to your bag of tricks, we're more than happy to work with you. Or if you're a company that works specifically with one L&D organization only, but you're interested in our simulations, we can partner with that L&D company so that they can use the simulations in any programs that you already may have existing with them. You can hire us directly. We'll work with you one-on-one to design and partner with you to design a program and then facilitate it as well. And then if you have several years of experience as a trainer, we are always looking for facilitators as well. I should mention, even if you hire us, we come out and we deliver for you. We also have a train the trainer option, so we do that as well. So there's lots of different ways to work with us. Be a partner, train the trainers, hire us directly, become a facilitator as well. Now, as a thank you for all of you spending your very valuable time with us today, we do want to give you a free license to go through CAPSIM Inbox Time Management. This is one of those micro simulations that I was talking about. And this is looking at more evaluating your skill levels than addressing those skills gaps. So this will help you evaluate and gain that self-awareness of how well you perform the skills of awareness, arrangement, adaptation, procrastination, and prioritization. All you have to do is go to our website, sign in using the email address you used to register for this webinar, and the password of Skills 2019. So that is the end of the presentation that I have for you guys today. We went over some examples of some success stories for closing some skills gaps with some large organizations. I did want to open it up for any questions that anybody might have. You can send me an email or give me a call as well if you have any questions or if there's anything you would like to learn more about. So if you just want to raise your hand or type any questions into the box, I will answer those in just a moment. All right, so we do have a question here about designing a program. And one of the great things about CAPSIM is we can really leverage all of these professors that have been teaching and using our business simulation all over the world for more information for a subject matter expert. If there's something that you would like your participants to learn, we can always partner with any subject matter experts that we've worked with in the past to build one of those programs. And again, the major skills gaps that CAPSIM does a great job closing is communication, business acumen, leadership development, strategic thinking, and problem solving. Those are the 5 biggest skills gaps right now that exist in organizations today. But then we can also do some other things like team development. We can tie in, if you do any kind of personality testing at your organization, we can tie that in as well and work that into our experiential learning programs as well. Great question. All right, looks like that's it for questions. I want to thank you so much for taking the time today. Please, again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. We'll send you an email follow-up giving you instructions, again, about how to access your time management inbox. I hope you all get a chance to go through it so that you can know your own self-awareness and then hopefully close some skill gaps that exist for you as well. Thank you again, and I hope everybody has a fantastic afternoon. Bye-bye.